It was on a beautiful spring evening that my wife came home practically glowing, thrilled to announce that we could get free money transforming our bougie, Instagram-worthy lawn into an eco-friendly paradise of native plants. The state was willing to pay homeowners to reverse some of the high-maintenance alterations we make to our little suburban patches of earth, and the wife was all in. As someone who prided herself on her calloused green thumb, she declared this yard project would be her magnum opus. Poppies, white and purple sage, lilac, holly, buckwheat, even something called a sticky monkey flower, each carefully chosen to save water, attract hummingbirds and bees, and bring a colorful, buzzing ecosystem back to life in our yard. And the state of California was willing to pay for it all. The wife dove into this project with the same compulsive independence she brought to everything she claimed as hers. Blueprints were drawn, 100 cardboard boxes to kill all the grass, 1,000 pounds of mulch, rakes, seeds, hose, and I was determined to help with this in any way I could, even if, despite my rugged looks, I am actually a little more Neiman Marcus than Home Depot. I asked every single day what I could do to contribute. Certainly, I have some skill that might prove useful for this project. She said I could take some pictures to send in for the rebate. And so I got every angle. I was careful with the lighting. And then I got promoted to hydration manager and director of the spirit squad. And I started to feel a little self-conscious and impotent, like my capabilities weren't being utilized, like my gender role in this same-sex partnership was being reduced to Snapchat cheerleading water girl. So the wife ended up sending in her own photos for the rebate. She didn't really like the ones I took. And so I did what I could from the sidelines. I provided refreshments and encouragement, and sometimes when she was at work, I would sneak out with the hose to water. So I arrived home one evening to find a couple crows hanging out with the new budding plants. They flew off when I got out of my car, and I really didn't think anything of it. But then they were there again the next night, and then the next, and then they started multiplying and becoming less intimidated, less eager to be chased away. It seemed our yard was becoming a new happy hour spot, but instead of the wild birds and bees that we were hoping to attract, now we had crows. The wife was totally immersed and hadn't really accepted my help at all up to this point. When she wasn't at work, she was either in the yard or out on yard-related errands. And I noticed she'd completely stopped talking to me about it. So I was kind of surprised when she texted me one morning with, "I have to do something about these crows. They are eating all of my seeds and ruining everything." Excited about being called off the bench, I suggested maybe we go out there with some squirt bottles. And I shared my experience in the humane discouragement of unwanted scavengers as a teenage SeaWorld employee. During the busy season, I would spend an hour each day in the picnic area armed with 2 heroic squirt bottles to save unsuspecting tourists from the nacho-grabbing seagulls. I had legitimate resume-worthy experience in bird mitigation. I could help with this. She was skeptical. That doesn't sound like it would work at all. I imagine that would only make them angry. Well, It actually did make them angry. And they still came back every single day at lunchtime for their nachos, and since seagulls never forget a face, they pooped on me, they pooped on my car, and they pooped in my general direction all summer long. Well, that was all the wife needed to shoot down my idea. I'll just take care of it myself. Thanks anyway. So a few nights later, I get out of my car after work and I hear a long and loud eagle screech from the middle of the yard. The kind you hear in a 4th of July Dodge Ram commercial. Cree! Ah! The eagle screamed again and flashed a bright series of lights on the crows as they snapped on our baby plants. Again, I shooed them away and followed the flamboyant call of patriotism to a small green box. A solar ultrasonic animal repeller equipped with a scary predator hunting call siren and powerful LED strobe light. I texted the wife a picture of it and asked, "Is this thing screaming in the yard on purpose?" She said she got it to get rid of the crows. Was it working? I was sorry to inform her that the box did not, in fact, seem to be working, and that the crows actually appeared to enjoy their new Eagle Cry playlist and fun disco ball. Damn it. Money down the drain. And she was incensed. All of those hours she'd been shoveling and planning and planting and keeping me out of the way. And I had done absolutely nothing but sit around like a lump, snapping a few useless photos, refilling her water, telling her how beautiful it was gonna look. But that's not real work. Real work requires dirt and suffering. I was determined to be fucking helpful whether she approved or not. And so, in the name of happy wife, happy life, I fired up the old laptop and leaned into my delicate proficiencies with clean fingernails to type in how to get rid of crows eating your yard. Now, Google said I should secure the trash cans, get reflective tape, fake owls, bird netting. Surprisingly, nothing about squirt bottles. I looked up how effective scarecrows are, being called scarecrows and all. Maybe a little song and dance in the yard might scare them away. At the very least, maybe it would make the wife happy. I scrolled down a little further into my search and I saw an ad for an Amazon product. Bird busters, crow deterrent, fake black dead crow decoy. Scare those pesky crows away. Just hang our decoy in the upside down death pose on a pole in your field. Apparently, dead crows are actually the ultimate scarecrows because live crows are absolutely terrified of them. So I read the reviews. Over 200 with 68% rating it 5 stars. I scrolled down to one that said it actually brought more crows to see what family member was hanging from the patio. And then another titled Huge Crow Funeral. But that was only mentioned a couple of times, and sad crows seemed way easier to deal with than a grumpy wife, and so I ordered it. Next day delivery. And I notified the wife that I had a really good plan to save the yard and her sanity. And she asked with an eye roll if it involved squirt bottles. No, actually, it involves a fake dead crow. And I showed her the picture with the Amazon reviews, and she said, that sounds absolutely ridiculous. But whatever floats your boat. So, my dead crow decoy arrived. I named him Edgar, and the following Saturday morning, when the wife headed on to Target, I put him in the yard with confidence, right on the ground where the crows usually hang out. And then I went into the backyard with a cup of coffee. And I turned on the fire pit, and I filled up my cute little birdhouse with some seeds, and I put my earbuds in with some chill beats, and I started writing in my journal. A half hour later, the wife burst through the back door in a furious panic. It kind of looked like she was yelling at me. I casually pulled my earbuds out. Hey, how's Target? You seem a little frazzled. She emphasized herself. Can you tell me what exactly has been going on here since I left? And I'm like, all good over here. I'm watching the birds. I got a fire going, sipping my coffee, doing some writing. She interrupted me. You're watching the birds? You don't hear that chaos in the front? What on earth have you done? And then I remembered. Oh yeah, I put the fake dead crow out there. Is it working? Go look for yourself, genius. I walked through the living room when I heard it. The sound of thousands of crows. Caw, 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 cawing outside so loud I couldn't even hear the TV on the wall. And I stepped out the front door into a Hitchcockian nightmare of furious and frenzied mourning crows. The air was full of screams that put the Eagle machine to shame. They soared ominously overhead. They stood watch as guardians on the power lines. They squawked from the branches inside every single goddamn tree on the block. There were flocks flying in from all directions, summoned by some telepathic crow alert, descending, whooshing, dive bombing, slapping their wings, and fanning their tails. It was at that very moment when it occurred to me that our house had become the epicenter for a real-life crow funeral. Now the neighbors are starting to come outside because they can't hear their own TVs over the commotion. All of us looking up into the sky, mouths agape with confusion and horror. For some reason, I guess I had imagined a crow funeral would be a little more somber, reverent, dignified. No, this was not that. Now the rational side of me was like, these crows don't even know Edgar. How sad could they even be? And then the even more rational side of me was like, these dumb crows aren't even getting close enough to investigate. If they're so smart, how come they can't tell that Edgar was made in China and purchased off the internet? So, the entire order of Southern California crows coming in from all 4 points now believed I was the godfather of a murder mob. My neighbors now saw me as a threat to the peace of our sleepy residential community, and the wife believed I was the biggest idiot on the planet. I decided to film a short video to document this real Hollywood moment. And I posted it on my socials because nobody was gonna actually believe this. A friend saw my video and reached out to warn me that shit was about to go down. She had a similar incident at her house, but with a real dead crow, and her crows held a grudge against her for over a year. and Jesus Christ. From that day on, they stamped my house as the place crows go to die. Our previously friendly local murder got real extra about not trusting any consumable scrap from our haunted-ass murder yard of death. And then they set up a camp in the oak tree across the street, fixated on some vigilante retribution. Every morning, I would find the twigs and trash and pebbles they were dropping on my car as a fuck you. They would swoop down to scare the shit out of me when I was taking out the trash. They would snap their wings from the driveway and bully me when I was in the garage. I'd go to check the mail, and they'd be sitting on the mailbox like, "What's up, bruh?" But the one thing they were not doing was eating the seeds in the yard. And in my heart, I could only relish in the elation of what was clearly the dawning of my hero era. My idea actually worked. The plants grew and bloomed and became exactly what the wife imagined, a wild and colorful ecosystem humming with life. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to enjoy the new yard for very long, since shortly after, things between me and the wife fell apart and I had to sell the house. Turns out, with all of her passion for this project, she'd also been cultivating a little something else for herself on the side. But for me, getting rid of her was a lot like getting rid of the crows. Chaotic and messy, but absolutely necessary. Sometimes shit has to get really bad before things can get better. Sometimes the best solution is the most disruptive and unsettling, but you gotta shake things up to give new seeds a chance to grow. And so these days I'm actually living my best life, focused on all kinds of new things sprouting up all around me. And I think me and the crows have finally come to an understanding. They dropped their vendetta against me, and I stopped pretending to murder their friends and family members. So unless those fuckers are still out there somewhere building tiny voodoo effigies of me with twigs and garbage, I sincerely hope they are all out there living their best lives too.
Jaime, ladies and gentlemen, Jaime.